If we have to, Alberta is prepared to do whatever it takes to get this pipeline built, including taking a public position in the pipeline. Put another way, Alberta is prepared to be an investor in the pipeline. And let me be clear, if we take that step, we will be a significantly more determined investor than BC has dealt with up to this point.
Rachel Notley said Alberta would be willing to buy the Trans Mountain Pipeline in its entirety in an attempt to save the project. Seizing the means of production, you say? How very centrist. What you just saw there was a scene from a press conference over the weekend. Rachel Notley held it after the suspension of the Trans Mountain Pipeline by Kinder Morgan, and she mused in that press conference that Alberta would be interested in taking a part ownership stake, becoming a partner in the $7.4 billion project as a way to alleviate opposition in British Columbia. Now, Notley was willing to invest money we don't have in a project that was already fully funded in the private sector because her government has failed to purchase the appropriate amount of so-called social license from Alberta's enemies with a carbon tax sprung on us by surprise. And strangely enough, some Conservatives are even backing this idea to buy the pipeline. They're backing an idea for the government to throw up roadblocks to the development of a project and artificially create a fire sale in the industry, and then use the crisis government has created to, in part, nationalize a project. Call me old-fashioned, but government just snatching up private sector industries is certainly not a Conservative idea that I hold. And we shouldn't be cheering for it because it always ends poorly. Conservatives should be instead encouraging Rachel Notley and Justin Trudeau to just get out of the way of oil and gas projects. And Conservatives should demand that the federal government enforce the Canadian Constitution on British Columbia. Anyway, now it's gotten even worse. Alberta Premier Rachel Notley is saying the province will buy the Trans Mountain Pipeline project outright if that's what it takes to get the pipeline built. Even crazier, Notley said she'd like the federal government to partner with her on the project. God help us all. Rachel Notley wants us to go into business with Justin Trudeau. What could possibly go wrong here, people? Alberta getting into the oil business with a Trudeau, but more specifically, like the dumbest Trudeau, as a partner should send chills down the spine of all sensible Albertans everywhere. And in the end, spending tax dollars on a project the private sector was willing to own on its own will not change the opposition at the other end of this pipeline. In fact, BC Environment Minister George Heyman has already told us that's the case. He said that disputes over the Kinder Morgan Trans Mountain Pipeline should be settled in court if Alberta or the federal government invests in or buys the Kinder Morgan Pipeline. BC's approach won't change. Of course, BC's approach won't change because it's not about who owns the pipeline or any pipeline. It's about the nationality of the oil inside the pipeline. The oil is Canadian, therefore it must be stopped. If Alberta buys the pipeline, it's certainly not going to change the hearts and minds of Greenpeace and others, now is it? Of course, because those hearts and those minds have already been bought and paid for a long time ago with foreign money, as Vivian Krause discovered through her research. This is from an article in the Financial Post. The Oak Foundation, created by a duty-free shop founder, paid Greenpeace Canada an undisclosed sum of money to leverage the growing interest of ranchers and landowners in limiting unbridled oil and gas exploration and production in southern Alberta. Greenpeace was also funded to conduct specialized opinion research and media work and to identify messaging for maximum information value among Albertans. World Wildlife Fund Canada was paid an unreported amount by the Oak Foundation for an e-campaign to mobilize Canadians and send a politically compelling message. You see, these people don't care about whose name is on the side of that pipeline. They are there to stop the flow of Canadian oil to international export markets. That is it, by all means necessary. Besides, these two, Notley and Trudeau, aren't particularly known for their business acumen or their responsible use of tax dollars. Notley has proven herself to be an absolutely terrible negotiator with no will to play hardball anyway. So with Alberta investing in this pipeline, we're really probably going to get screwed on the deal. I mean, who can forget how Notley banned BC wine from import into Alberta to try to start a trade war with British Columbia over the pipeline dispute? Her silly plan targeted the Okanagan, you know, the conservative free trading part of British Columbia and the part most likely to support a pipeline. Then Notley canceled her ban after 2 weeks and claimed victory in that war. Guys, look how victorious we are right now with our canceled pipeline and all. And then there were all those power purchase agreement lawsuits that were triggered by Notley's poorly thought out coal phase out. The government actually allowed one of those lawsuits to be settled using 400,000 carbon offsets as a currency. That's like taking magic beans in payment. Carbon offsets aren't real money, and they don't build schools, and they don't build roads. Buying us this pipeline that we can't afford and that Notley surely cannot manage will not get us social license with our enemies any more than paying a carbon tax Rachel Notley never campaigned on will. Because, as we know, social license doesn't exist. The only thing real here is the failure of the government and the financial risk now being transferred to Albertans. For the Rebel.Media, I'm Sheila Gunn. Join us for the largest rallies against the carbon tax ever organized, Saturday, April 14th at the Alberta Legislature in Edmonton from 1 to 3 p.m. and again, Sunday, April 15th at City Hall in Calgary from 1 to 3 p.m. Great speakers are already confirmed. Everyone is welcome. Admission is free, but we'd be pretty grateful for donations to cover our costs. It's a family-friendly event, so family-friendly signs, please. For more information, go to repealthecarbontax.com.